You wouldn't have noticed her, not if you weren't looking real close. She'd tucked herself in deep beneath the hay, breathing slow, still as death. And that wagon, it kept rolling through the dust like any other passing travelers. No one saw a thing, not even the man driving it. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with that worn look cowboys get after too many years under the sun and too few nights under a roof. Folks in the last town just called him Bo, didn't talk much, didn't linger. Rode into town with supplies, fixed a broken fence or two, then rode on like he was chasing something he'd never catch. This time, though, something was chasing him. Or more truthfully, someone was hiding from something. Bo pulled the wagon off the trail that night and set up camp beneath a crooked pine. He didn't hear her stir, not when he laid out his blanket, not when he lit the fire, not even when the coyotes howled, but when the horse snorted and the hay shifted real soft. He froze, one hand to his sidearm, the other to his lantern. He didn't speak, just waited, then a voice, barely more than a breath. "Please don't shoot." He stepped closer, lifted the lantern, and there she was. A girl, maybe 16, pale, scraped up, eyes too old for someone that young. She blinked against the light but didn't back away. Bo said nothing for a long while, just looked at her like she might vanish if he spoke. Then he lowered the lantern and sat down by the fire again. "You hungry?" he finally asked. She nodded, just once. He tossed her a piece of jerky. She chewed like it was the first food she'd had in days. He didn't ask her name. Not yet. And she didn't offer it. But as the wind picked up and the fire cracked, Bo caught the way she flinched when it popped too loud, the way she hugged her knees, the way she kept checking the trees like something might come out and drag her back. He'd seen that kind of fear before. Long time ago, back when he still believed he could fix the world. He didn't speak much that night, just handed her a blanket, nodded toward the covered part of the wagon and said, "You're safe here for now." She didn't say thank you, didn't have to. The way her eyes softened for half a second was more than enough, and for the first time in a long while Bo didn't ride out alone the next morning. He had a passenger, a secret, and a feeling deep in his gut that whatever road lay ahead, it wasn't going to be simple. The road out of the hills was quiet that morning, save for the creak of wagon wheels and the soft stomp of hooves over gravel. Bo didn't look back, and the girl didn't speak for miles. She sat beside a barrel, half hidden still, clutching the blanket like armor. It wasn't until the sun crested high and Bo handed her a canteen that she finally whispered, "You don't want to know my name?" He shook his head. "Figure you'll tell me when it matters." A pause. Then she said, "You can call me June." He glanced her way, just briefly. "That your real name?" She shrugged. "Close enough." They shared silence like folks used to share bread, careful, respectful, like it might run out if handled wrong. Bo didn't ask where she was from, didn't ask what she was running from either. But when she winced, trying to stretch her legs, and the blanket slipped just enough to show a bruise blooming across her ribs, he saw plenty. He just nodded toward a narrow stream up ahead. "We'll stop there, rest, clean up." June looked surprised. "You're not turning me in?" Bo raised an eyebrow. "Turn you into who?" She looked down. "Whoever's looking." That stuck with him more than it should have. They stopped beneath a cluster of cottonwoods. The water ran cold, clear, with dragonflies skating the surface, like dancers. Bo let her wash in peace while he fixed up some beans on the fire. When she came back, barefoot and dripping, she looked younger somehow, less hunted. "Thank you," she said softly. He nodded. "You can ride up front now, might look less suspicious." She hesitated. "You sure?" "I'm sure." June climbed up, blanket folded neat in her arms. She didn't smile, but something in her shoulders relaxed. Like maybe, for the first time in days, she believed no one was going to grab her by the hair and drag her back. That evening, they rolled into a small, dust-blown town called Gallows Crossing, the kind of place with one general store, 2 drunks, and a sheriff that slept, more than he patrolled. Bo tied up the horse and left June in the wagon with a firm look. "Stay low. Don't talk. Don't move unless you have to." June nodded. He went inside, bought supplies, coffee, soap, extra boots. But when he came back out, she was gone. Panic hit him harder than he expected. His eyes scanned the alley, the saloon, the boardwalk, nothing. Then he heard voices near the stables. "Where you think you're going, girl?" Bo turned the corner, hand already at his sidearm. June stood backed against a rail, cornered by two rough-looking men. One of them had her wrist. She wasn't crying. She looked furious. Bo stepped between them like a wall of stone. "Let her go." The man holding her smirked. "Who's she to you, mister?" "She's under my protection." That did it. The man released her slow, trying to save face. "Didn't know she was with anyone." "You do now." They backed off, muttering. June didn't speak. Just stared at Bo like he'd grown a second head. Back in the wagon, as they left town, she finally broke the silence. "You didn't have to do that." Bo kept his eyes on the trail. "Yes, I did." And in that moment, something shifted. Not in words, but in the quiet. Like maybe, for the first time, June wasn't just a girl running. She was someone who'd been seen. And maybe someone worth standing up for. They rode long into the next morning, leaving Gallows Crossing behind like dust in the wind. Bo didn't say much. Neither did June. But the quiet between them had changed. It wasn't heavy like before. It was something else now. Like the hush of a new trail when you don't quite know where it leads, but you know you're not riding alone anymore. June sat up front beside him, hair pulled back under a borrowed hat. Her arms were crossed, but not in fear. More like she was holding herself together with what little she had left. Every so often she glanced over as if trying to figure Bo out. "You ever been a lawman?" she asked suddenly. Bo blinked. "No." "Soldier?" "Not lately." Then, "Why'd you help me?" Bo didn't answer right away. He pulled the reins, slowed the wagon near a small grove of pines, let the horses drink. Then he looked at her, eyes steady but far away. "'Cause someone helped me once," he said. "Didn't ask questions, just gave me a place to breathe." June was quiet for a beat. "Did it save you?" He thought about that a long moment. "Not right away, but it gave me time." She nodded like that meant more to her than she could say. After camp was set and the fire crackled low, June finally asked what Bo had been expecting. "You want to know what I'm running from?" He didn't answer. Just waited. "My stepfather," she said quietly. "My mom died 2 winters back. He drank, Her voice faltered. "I tried to leave before sheriff sent me back, said there wasn't proof." Bo's jaw clenched, but he stayed quiet. "He's looking for me," she said. "I know it. He's not going to let me go easy." Bo poked the fire with a stick. "Then we don't make it easy for him." June looked up, startled. "You mean, you'll keep helping me?" "You ride with me," Bo said simply. "You ride free. You run. I can't stop you, but I won't turn you in." She blinked, then nodded slowly, her throat tight. For a moment, neither spoke. The flames cracked. The wind moved through the grass like a whisper. Then June said, "My real name's not June." Bo raised an eyebrow. "It's Clara." He gave her a small nod. "Good to meet you, Clara." That night she didn't sleep in the wagon. She laid her blanket near the fire not far from his. And though she still stirred at every owl's call and snapped twig, she didn't flinch quite the same. And Bo, he stayed up long after she closed her eyes. Watching the dark. Listening. Because now he wasn't just guarding the wagon. He was guarding her. The next town was bigger, busier. A place where strangers stuck out less, but trouble had more places to hide. It sat at the edge of a dry riverbed, surrounded by brittle grass and heat-soaked hills. Folks called it Dry Hollow, though there wasn't anything hollow about the way its people stared when a wagon rolled in carrying a quiet man and a teenage girl. Bo knew the feeling. He'd seen it before, in places where law came too slow and talk spread faster than wind through wheat. As he tied the horses and lifted down a bag of supplies, Clara kept her head low beneath her borrowed hat. "You sure we should be here?" she whispered. "No," Bo said honestly. "But we need food, and boots that fit your feet." They headed into the general store, passing a crooked sheriff's board nailed to the wall outside. Bo didn't glance at it, but Clara did, and she stopped cold. Her photo was there, faded, rough-sketched, but it was her. The poster read, "Missing, Clara Whitmore, age 16, possible abduction, reward offered." At the bottom, signed, Sheriff Weller, Grant County. She backed away like she'd been struck. "He's got the law chasing me," she whispered. Bo turned, eyes narrowing. He scanned the poster, then tore it down, folding it slow and sliding it into his coat. "Stay close." he said. Voice, lower now. Keep your head down. Don't speak unless I speak first. They finished up in silence. Bo bought what they needed, paid in cash, and nodded to the shopkeep like he'd been there a dozen times before. But as they stepped back, onto the boardwalk, a voice called out behind them. Well, I'll be damned, Bo Kincaid. Didn't think I'd see you again. Bo turned slowly. The man who stepped from the saloon wore a deputy's badge and a crooked smile. His name was Vince Dobbins. Bo knew him from another life. One filled with cards, whiskey, and decisions he didn't like remembering. Bo forced a nod. Didn't think you wore tin. Vince laughed. Sheriff's out sick. Lucky me, right? Then his eyes slid toward Clara. And who's this? Bo's hand hovered near his hip, casual-like. My niece. Vince's smile faltered. That so? Yeah. Well, Vince said slowly, scratching at his beard. You best keep her close. Some wild folks been stirring trouble around these parts. Runaways, thieves, girls with bounty posters on their heads. Clara's breath hitched, but Bo didn't blink. I'll keep her close, he said, voice like iron. You, do the same with your mouth. They didn't wait around. The moment Vince turned, Bo and Clara were back in the wagon, riding hard out of Dry Hollow, dust kicking high behind them. They didn't speak until the town was miles behind. When they finally stopped near an old windmill to water the horses, Clara turned to him. You didn't have to lie for me. I didn't. She frowned. I'm not really your niece. Bo looked at her long and quiet, then said, You're under my roof. You eat my food. Ride in my wagon. That makes you family in ways blood never could. Her eyes filled, but she blinked fast and turned away. That sign said I was abducted. They think you stole me. Bo exhaled slowly. They're gonna think what they want. But I know what's true. And so do you. Clara didn't reply. But as they rode out again, the girl who'd once hidden in hay sat taller, chin lifted just enough to catch the sun. She wasn't just running anymore. She was beginning to fight. They headed north, into thicker trees, higher air where the dust turned to pine needles and the sky felt closer somehow. Bo knew a place, an old trapper's cabin he'd once helped repair after a storm. The man was long gone now, but the roof still held and the stone chimney still smoked when you gave it kindling. That's where they stayed next. Not for long. Just long enough. Long enough for Clara to stop flinching every time the wind changed. Long enough for her to start humming quietly while heating beans. Long enough for Bo to start believing he could protect her. For real. One evening, as twilight stretched its fingers across the treetops, Clara stood by the stream, holding a ragged journal she'd found tucked in the cabin wall. She ran her fingers across the pages like they were glass. I used to write, she said suddenly. Poems. Dumb stuff. My mom used to say I had a mind like water, always moving. Bo, sitting nearby, just listened. She never hit me, Clara went on. She never raised her voice, not once. But after she died, everything quiet turned dangerous. The house was so still, like it was waiting for him to come back drunk. She swallowed. He'd call me June. Said Clara sounded too soft, like it wasn't tough enough to survive in a place like this. Bo's voice came quiet. Clara's tougher than he'll ever be. She didn't smile, but her grip on the journal softened. That night, a storm rolled in. Heavy rain on the roof. Thunder deep and low. Bo bolted the door, checked the rifle twice, and stoked the fire to keep them warm. Clara sat curled in the rocker with a blanket wrapped tight, staring into the flames. Do you ever regret it? She asked. Helping me. Bo looked up. No. What if he comes after us? Then he'll learn something about picking the wrong fight. She looked at him for a long moment. You really mean that? I do. She nodded slowly, then whispered, I'm not sure anyone's ever meant anything for me before. The storm passed by morning, but the smell of wet ash hung in the air like a memory. Bo stepped out to check the horses and froze. Smoke. Not from their chimney, but from the ridge to the east. Another fire. Another camp. Someone nearby. When he returned, Clara saw the look in his eyes. Is it him? She asked. I don't know, but we can't stay. They packed fast. No words, just movement. As they pulled away, Clara turned back once, looking at the cabin. Felt like a home, she whispered. It was, Bo said quietly, even if just for a while. They rode in silence, but the stillness had changed again. Not fear now. Something sharper. Anticipation. A knowing, because the world was catching up to them, and this time, they wouldn't just run. 3 days. Out from the cabin they found a new trail, one Bo didn't like. The trees thinned. The wind picked up grit. And the air smelled of something scorched. Old fire long dead, but still hanging in the dirt like a warning. They kept moving west, hoping to find a trade post Bo remembered, maybe even a safe roof for the night. But as the sun dipped low, and the hills stretched long shadows across the plain, Clara tensed. "What's that?" she asked. Bo stopped the wagon, stood tall, and squinted toward the ridge. A single figure on horseback, still, watching. Then it turned, and disappeared into the dusk. Clara's breath caught. "That was him. You sure? I know his shape like I know my own name." Bo's hands gripped the reins tighter. "He's trailing us. Let's move." They didn't stop again until the moon was high and even the horses had gone quiet with exhaustion. Bo didn't build a fire. He didn't say much, but he cleaned his rifle twice and kept it within arm's reach. Clara lay under the wagon, curled in a bedroll, but sleep wouldn't come. "You think he'll come tonight?" she whispered. "No," Bo said. "He wants to scare you first. Make you run scared. That's what men like him do." Clara stared up at the underbelly of the wagon. "It's working." Bo knelt beside her. "He doesn't get to own your fear anymore, you hear me?" Her eyes shimmered. "What if he says you kidnapped me? He can say what he wants. I know the truth. So do you. That's what matters. But the law. Sometimes the law—" "Don't listen," Bo said, voice low. "Sometimes it looks the other way, but I won't." She closed her eyes tight, and for the first time in days a tear slipped free. By morning the air was dry and still, like the world was holding its breath. They reached the old trade post just before noon. It was barely more than a split wood shack and 2 mules tied out front. But the man inside, old Hatch, recognized Bo immediately. "Well, I'll be," Hatch said, pulling off a dirty cap. "Didn't think I'd see your face again." "Didn't think I'd need to come back," Bo replied. "We need grain and maybe a fresh canteen." Hatch looked over at Clara, who stood quiet, hat low. "That your girl?" Bo hesitated. Then, "She's under my care." Hatch nodded. "You've always been good at finding the broken ones." Bo's eyes narrowed. "And you've always been good at saying too much." They made their trade quick. But just as they turned to leave, Hatch called out, "Hey, Kincaid. Man passed through here yesterday, looking for a girl, had a scar across his left cheek, rode a gray horse." Clara froze. "Left this behind," Hatch added, tossing Bo a piece of cloth. A small handkerchief, embroidered with one word, "Clara." She stared at it like it burned. "That was my mother's." Bo shoved it in his pocket. "Let's ride." They rode harder than before. The fear wasn't just behind them now, it was circling, getting closer. That night, they found shelter in an abandoned barn. And before sleep took them, Clara asked, "Bo, what if he never stops?" He looked at her, face lit soft by moonlight through the slats. "Then I won't either." By the time they reached Broken Mesa, Clara didn't look like the girl who'd hidden in Bo's wagon. Her face had hardened. Her voice when she spoke was steadier, and her eyes held a quiet fire, something lit not by fear, but by the decision not to be afraid anymore. Bo noticed it. He hadn't said anything, but he'd been watching. He saw how she scanned the trails behind them, how her hand rested near the rifle when they stopped to rest. She was no outlaw, but she was no longer helpless either. They set up camp near a cliff edge that overlooked a snaking river below. From there they could see miles in every direction. Clara liked it. "Feels like if something's coming, I'll see it before it sees me." Bo nodded. "That's the idea." He'd barely settled the horses when he heard her voice, quiet and sure. "Bo, I want to stop running." He looked at her, brows drawn. "He's not going to stop," she said. "So let's stop first. Make him come to us on our terms." He stared at her long and hard, then said, "I know a place." It was a day's ride through red rock and cactus thickets, hot sun by day, bitter cold by night. But Bo led her to a canyon pass most folks had forgotten. The locals called it Dead Mule Hollow, on account of a legend no one liked repeating. But Bo knew it for what it really was, a natural funnel. A place where one man could hold off 5 if he knew how to use the land. They reached it by sunset. High rock walls, one narrow path in, one way out. Bo set the traps, dug shallow lines, taught Clara how to use the rifle, not just shoot but wait, breathe, choose her moment. She was scared, but she listened. That night, under a sky smeared with stars, she finally told him what he hadn't asked. He wasn't just cruel, she said. He sold me. Bo turned to her, jaw locked. She nodded, tears brimming. To a man twice my age. Called it a marriage. Said it'd keep the farm running. Said I was a burden, and this would make me useful. She wiped her eyes. I ran the night before, hid in your wagon like a rat. I thought maybe I could disappear. Bo looked at her, voice tight. You didn't disappear, Clara. You survived. She nodded, silent. And in the dark, the sound of a distant horse echoed through the canyon. One rider, then 2. They were coming. The next morning broke with no wind, no birdsong, just the dry creak of saddle leather and the quiet thud of hooves on hard earth. Clara and Bo crouched behind a rock outcropping. Clara gripped the rifle, hands trembling just slightly. The first man came into view. Tall, scar on his left cheek. Gray horse, her stepfather. Beside him rode a hired gun, and behind them, another. 3 men. 1 girl. 1 cowboy. But the canyon had other rules. Bo rose slowly, rifle pointed. That's far enough, the lead man squinted. Kincaid, he growled. Heard you had something of mine. She's not yours, Bo said coldly. Never was. I got papers, sheriff's orders. She's a ward of the state. State don't own people. Neither do you, Bo didn't flinch. She stays. You leave, or this canyon gets painted. The man smirked. You think you can stop us? No, Bo said, then nodded toward Clara. But we can. Clara stood, gun raised, eyes steady. Man's smirk dropped, and in that second something shifted. He saw her, not the runaway, not the girl to barter, but the threat. The line he should never have crossed. He barked a curse and drew. Bo's shot rang out before the man's iron cleared leather. The canyon cracked with sound. The second gun dropped before he could fire. The third man, just a hired rider, turned, his horse and ran. Clara stood frozen, rifle still aimed, breath shaking. It was over, just like that. Bo walked to her slowly, took the rifle from her hands. You did it, he said softly. I was so scared, she whispered. That's how. You know you're brave. She looked at the body of the man who'd haunted her life, and for the first time her shoulders didn't sag. They lifted. I'm not his anymore. No, Bo said. You're yours. They buried him where he fell, not out of pity, but because leaving him there felt like he'd win something he didn't deserve. Clara didn't speak much that morning, just helped Bo dig, one shovelful at a time, until the ground swallowed the last of a life she never chose. When it was done, she stood over the mound of dirt, clutching her mother's handkerchief. I don't forgive him, she said quietly, but I'm done carrying him. Bo nodded. That's enough. They packed up camp in silence. But something in the air had changed. Not relief, more like the slow thaw of long-held fear. Clara didn't flinch when a bird startled the moo horses. She didn't hunch her shoulders when Bo raised his voice. She just breathed easier. That night they reached a town Bo had once helped build, back when he thought he'd stay in one place. A small cluster of cabins nestled near the river bend, where lanterns glowed like fireflies at dusk and the general store still smelled like pipe tobacco and flour. Clara stared at it like it was a dream. We staying? She asked. Bo looked around. You hungry? She smiled. Starved. At the diner, the woman behind the counter served stew with warm cornbread and a pitcher of cider. You got a name, sweetheart? She asked Clara. Clara hesitated, then nodded. Clara rose. The woman smiled. Pretty. Haven't seen you two around. Bo leaned back in his chair. We've been moving. The woman nodded like she understood more than they'd said. Sometimes the road's the only way to shake ghosts. Clara watched townsfolk chat and laugh around her, eyes wide like she'd forgotten people could live like this. Without fear. I want this, she said, voice soft. I want normal. I want to bake something that doesn't burn. I want a room, with a window. I want to learn people's names and not be scared they'll ask mine. You can, Bo said. I don't know how. He looked her straight in the eyes. We'll figure it out. That night, she slept in a real bed, under a patchwork quilt that smelled of lavender and wood smoke. Bo took the cot by the door like he always did, body between her and the world. But just before sleep took her, she whispered, Bo? Yeah? You didn't have to help me. I know. Why did you? He was quiet a long moment. Then, 'cause someone once helped me when I didn't think I deserved it. What happened to them? They died saving a fool's life. You weren't a fool. Back then, I was. She turned to face him in the dark. Not anymore. The next morning, Clara found herself in the kitchen of the diner, elbow deep in flour. Ever made biscuits? The woman asked. Clara shook her head. Well, you'll learn. It's mostly mess and hope. Kind of like everything else. Clara smiled, hands trembling just a little. Outside, Bo leaned against the porch rail, sipping coffee, watching her through the window. For the first time in weeks, he saw something in her face he hadn't seen before. A spark. Not just survival, but possibility. It had been 4 days since Clara baked her first batch of biscuits. They came out lopsided and burnt on the bottom, but the old lady at the diner clapped like it was a miracle. Clara had laughed, really laughed. The kind that starts in the chest and surprises you. Bo hadn't said much, just nodded with that half smile of his, but she caught him sneaking a second biscuit. That was praise enough. Life had begun to feel possible. Until the rider came. It was mid-afternoon when the dust trail showed on the horizon. Just one horse, fast, intent. Clara saw it first from the kitchen window. Her breath caught, body frozen in a way that hadn't happened since the canyon. Bo stepped outside, eyes narrowing. The town was too small for strangers. The rider didn't, slow until he hit the general store. Young, pale, wore a badge on his chest, but it wasn't polished. New to the job or nervous, he spotted Bo right away. You Kincaid? Bo nodded. I'm Deputy Roy from Junction Ridge. Got word about a girl, Clara Rose. She's listed as a missing person under state custody. Folks are saying she's here. Bo's eyes darkened. She's safe. The deputy shifted awkwardly. I ain't here to cause trouble, just the sheriff sent me to check. From behind the diner door, Clara stepped out, apron still dusted in flour. I'm Clara Rose, she said, voice steady. And I'm not going back. The deputy looked at her. Really looked. Saw the strength behind her eyes. The grit she'd earned. I figured you'd say that, he muttered. Then sighed. Can I ask what happened? She nodded. He sold me. Called it marriage. I ran. He came after me. He's dead now. The deputy's eyes flicked to Bo. Bo didn't flinch. Self-defense, witnesses in Broken Mesa. Ask around. The deputy scratched his head. You got anyone to vouch for you? I got me, Clara said. And him. The deputy glanced at his horse like it might offer advice. Then said, Look, I didn't sign up to drag girls back to hell, and the law? It's slow, but it's not blind. He reached into his saddlebag and handed Clara a folded paper. What's this? She asked. New identity form. For wards who want emancipation, you file it, sheriff signs it, and you're your own person. Takes time, but it sticks. Clara stared at it, hands trembling. Why would you help me? She whispered. The deputy shrugged. 'Cause my sister ran too. Took her years to get free. Wish someone had done this for her. He tipped his hat. Stay out of sight till it's filed. After that, no one touches you. That night, Clara sat on the porch with Bo, the form clutched in her lap. I signed this, I stopped running, she said. You already did, Bo replied. She looked out toward the hills, stars just beginning to scatter across the sky. It feels weird, like I'm not sure who I am without fear. You'll find out, he said, one day at a time. She leaned against him, quiet. I'm scared. He nodded. Me too. But I'm ready. And for the first time, Bo believed it. The morning she signed the paper, there was no ceremony, no music. Just a quiet breeze rustling the porch curtain and the scratch of ink on paper. Clara Rose. Age, 17. Status independent. She signed it slowly like she was writing a new name into the world. The sheriff of the town, gruff old but kind in the eyes, stamped it with his seal and handed it back. That's yours now, he said. Don't let anyone take it. She nodded, fingers tight on the page. I won't. Bo didn't say much on the ride back, just glanced at her now and then, like trying to see what was different. Truth was, everything was, and nothing was. She was still Clara. Still the girl who climbed into his wagon, half-starved and shaking. But now, she stood taller, looked ahead when she walked, spoke without shrinking. You thinking of staying? Bo finally asked. Clara smiled. I'm thinking of building something. He raised a brow. You? Building? I got strong arms now. And stubbornness. That's half the battle, ain't it? He laughed. You'll need lumber. And nails. And maybe someone to show me how, not to hammer my thumb. Bo smirked. I might know a guy. Weeks passed. The diner took her on full time. She started school at the little church house down the road, reading by lantern at night. Her handwriting improved. So did her biscuits. But more than that, she began to belong. The town took to her slow but sure. Mrs. Glenn from the diner called. Her sweetheart, now without flinching. Mr. Reeves offered to teach her how to ride properly, and the kids at school stopped whispering runaway and started saying, friend.
One evening, as Bo was fixing the porch rail, Clara walked up holding a box. What's that? He asked. Something I've been working on. She opened it, and inside lay a carved sign. Uneven letters, but proud. Clara's place.
He blinked. Your own? Not yet. But one day. Maybe a bakery, maybe a reading room. A place for girls who run, so they don't have to keep running. Bo nodded slowly. Sounds like a good place. She looked at him, really looked. You helped me build this, she said. You did the heavy lifting. She grinned. You just made sure I didn't fall. That night, they sat by the fire, stars above, crickets singing low, and for the first time since they met, there was no danger on the edge of town, no shadows waiting to catch them, just quiet, and the slow, sure breath of healing. Bo sipped his coffee. You ever think about the day we met? All the time, she said. What if you hadn't climbed into that wagon? She leaned her head on his shoulder. I think I still would have found you, or you'd have found me. Some folks, they're just meant to cross paths. Some stories don't end in triumph, they end in peace. And sometimes, that's the greatest victory of all. Have you ever found a place or a person that made you feel safe again? Tell us in the comments. And if Clara's journey meant something to you, don't forget to follow for the next story, The Frontiers Full of Quiet Miracles.